Do you have problems with leaks on your old Chevy van? Like where the water runs down here and into the windshield and under the dash? Or here and down into the door? That's what we're gonna fix today. Stay tuned. This week we're back on the 84 Chevy G20 van. Van's about to go through some changes, transformation, give a little more character. I've been calling it blank canvas for the last couple years because the side of it's just white and boring. We're going to change that next week. But before I do that, I got some things to take care of. When I first got it, it had a ladder rack on it. I had to weld some holes shut. I never finished that. So I got like 4 spots up here on the top that I might have to sand and hit with a little body filler and throw a little paint on there. Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is hit it with a little rust converter. Get it down in that rust before I sand it. So I might not be able to get to all the rust when I'm sanding it. Stuff that's in the little cracks or whatever. So I'll do that first, and then I think this is the only one that still needs ground down yet. And then I'll start prepping for body filler. Okay, so I let that rust converter set for a while, let it do what it do. Then I'm gonna grind this one down. The rest just needs sanded and smooth the goo on there. Okay, so yesterday I had to wait for this to cool down a little bit to put the silly putty on there, but right before the sun went down I got it on there, so now it's time to sand it down. I got some high build primer spray on there after it's ready to go, and we'll make it white and this part can be done. You can see this over here. This is a body sealer from the drip edge here. It's all full of cracks and we're going to address that too. First we'll get this taken care of. Well, I got all the spots sanded, at least good enough. If you're going out of your way to look up here, stop it, get some help. So I'm going to go ahead and hit this with some high build primer now. I'll fill in some of these scratches, we'll sand it again, try to get it ready to make it white once again. So the wind took a break for a few minutes, so I got ahead and made it white again. Now I'm going to let this dry real good, and then I'll sand it and kind of blend it in, and nobody will even know it was there. Next I want to work on this drip rail, get all this stuff dug out of there, the body seam sealer. We're going to put new in there because this is cracked and it leaks. I'll show you the problem up front. This had body seam sealer in it, and it all cracked out, fell out. But it has cracks in it up here. And water likes to get in between this right here, and it'll run down here and go in between the seal and get behind it, leak out under the dash, and then it'll run down on the floor. So I'm sure that's probably a common problem. It also leaks into this little seam right here, and then it'll run down and drip on the other side of the door and drip, and water will end up in the little step well down there. I'm tired of dealing with it. We're going to take care of it. First thing I'm going to do is dig all this crap out, and then I'm going to look and see what we're dealing with here and here. Then maybe I'll try to epoxy that or use some JB weld or something. I was thinking about welding it, but I'm afraid I might burn through and then I'll have a big mess to deal with. First I gotta get all this dug out, and that's what I'm gonna do now. Go grab an arsenal of tools and get started. Okay, the body sealer's coming out pretty good. I've been using this putty knife to go along the edge, break it loose. And then I've just been using this little chisel screwdriver would probably work just as good, or almost as good. It is coming out a little easier in the front. I think it's because it's thicker. This way it starts getting pretty thin and crusty. I did find there was a little bit of rust right here. So I'm gonna hit that with a little rust converter. Get that taken care of before we seal it up. I'll probably just prolong its life by a few decades just by doing this little thing. This is what I'm using. Got it at Napa. It was like $22. Nice if it was the white instead of the gray, but I only had one tube of white. So I'm sure I'm gonna need more than one tube to go all the way around the van. So I'm just gonna keep digging at it and get the shop vac out and clean up the mess, I guess. Okay, so I'm digging into the side right here. This is the side door. I'm finding a bunch of dirt down in here that was down in the cracks. If this was in a place with a wet climate, probably would have already had a bunch of rust up in here, but since it's been in the desert, it's been saved. So getting all that dirt cleaned out of there and new sealer in there is gonna be a lifesaver for this van. I don't know if you can see down in there, but there's a seam right up here by the edge with the two pieces clamped together or spot welded. So we want to make sure we get that seam filled in real good. I'm gonna make sure I get it cleaned out really good, digging all the crap out of it. Who knew that a little thing like this would be such a life-saving procedure for this thing? So eventually it would have caused rust holes and it would have been hard to fix. Alright, keep digging at it. Okay, I got this whole side done and I found a little more rust right here. This is where another seam is. So glad I'm getting all this stuff dug out of here and cleaned up. We'll get it sealed up again. I've also gotten across the back, and I'm gonna start down the other side and we'll get it all cleaned up real good and get all the dirt out of there. Figure out what we're gonna do with these seams. It's gotta be something better than what they did before, I'm sure. Back to it. Alright, I got all the way around. Now the sun's not out cooking me, but now we got the wind, so we're gonna deal with that. Digging that stuff out of there got kind of boring, so I figured I'd see what's the longest piece I could get. This was the longest one, about 30 inches or so, I don't know. Not that it matters, but made it a little more interesting. Most of it came out in little crumbs, especially on the other side. Did notice that some of it was thicker in the front and the back and thinner on the side rails. But right here's your drain, so I guess you'd want to taper everything towards that. So now I'm going to take this brush and a shop vac and just kind of scrub and knock all that loose stuff loose. Yeah, knock all the dirt loose so I can get it cleaned up. So cleaning time, let's get at it. Bring it back when it's all something. So what I ended up doing was opening up these gaps a little bit, getting the rust knocked loose in there. I sprayed some rust converter in there. Another one right here. I'm gonna mix up a little JB weld once that rust converter is done and stick it in there and tap this back together as close as I can. That should seal it up better than it was. Then we'll put the body sealer in here, let that set up real good, and eventually paint that too. Okay, so I put some JB weld in here yesterday and it's had plenty of time to cure. I'm gonna go ahead and start putting the seam sealer in. What do you think? Is 2 tubes enough to do a whole van? I have my doubts. We're gonna find out though. Time to make a mess. Okay, you were right. 2 tubes wasn't enough. A couple things I learned about body sealer today. 1, it sets up pretty quick. 2, it's messy and gets everywhere. I have to do a bunch of sanding. Good thing I love sanding. Anyways, I think I got about 3/4 of the van done. There's a few spots I might have to touch up. So I'll pick up another tube and I think that'll do everything. Well, I think that's about the end of the video. Got some really cool stuff coming up on this van, so make sure you subscribe and hit notifications so you don't miss that. We're going to change the look of it next week, and hopefully more than one way. Well, you know what to do. Subscribe, like, comment. Make sure you hit those notifications. Hate for you to miss out on what's coming next. Well, as always, thanks for hanging out at Van Gogh Garage in Little Carburetor Spring, Colorado. Bye.